Pennsylvania. It's the Comic Madness Variety Hour.
Hello and welcome to the Comic Madness Variety Hour, here to bring you all of the hot takes on this week in comics. And it is going to be a little bit of a...
What a week it is.
It's going to be a little bit of a small week.
What a week. Ding.
Week. W-E-A-K. K-K-K.
W-E-A-K.
As always, I'm Kyle.
I'm Troy.
Hi, I'm Bryan.
Brian's back.
Bryan, hooray!
Wait, were you on it, or were you on the Lost tapes?
I might be in the Lost tapes.
No.
I don't know.
What? No, I think he was just on an early one.
It would have had to have been like first.
Oh no, he was
10.
like our first guest.
But he's in.
So that's
you're
the
on the
Lost
I
Lost
came in
tapes.
very late. Yeah, I would think so.
Brian's back for the first
Yay!
time.
Thanks.
All right. So, as we discussed, it is a small week. It's the holiday week. It's that weird time between Christmas and New Year's where, like, time doesn't exist. Everything is all fucked up. So only 4...
Cut week, skip week.
Yeah.
Week, other things you want to say for it. Which is weird, because we did not have one last year.
No, it was, like,
So it
full
worked
stop.
out.
Yeah, like, their books came out. Like, it's just...
No, the companies were just like, yeah, we're not doing the skip week this year.
Yeah. So, like...
But then this year they were like, skip week for everybody.
Well, I think it's because it was the day before Christmas, and they had a hard time, probably to get that many books to people. Like, they were able to get our shipment in to us before Christmas.
Also,
But if they had had more books, it probably would not have happened.
question, there's all these Stan Lee, remembrance covers. I'm like, did they like rip off the old covers and like slap these like remember Stan Lee covers or something? Maybe they had,
I don't know. Well, I think that had been, like, in the plans, but...
that they're like, oh, he's going to
As
die.
soon as he dies, this is
It's
what
in the
we're doing.
solicit.
So this
Yeah.
is where Stan gets offed, and we need that to happen. All right.
they, like, broke the news to him. They're like, yeah, you're dying next week.
Yeah.
He's
And
like,
he
all
was
right,
like,
it's been a long...
finally. R.I.P. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
So...
News? Any news?
No, it's that same thing. It's like there's just nothing coming out.
Oh, the Hellboy
news-wise.
trailer dropped.
I saw
Did we
that.
not talk about that already?
Did we talk about that? Either way,
If we didn't,
did
it
talk about
was
it,
sweet.
it was so sweet.
That was
Real
King Arthur, Crown of Flames.
Mm.
It's the shit. The guy
David
does not
Harbour?
look great.
Yeah, that's
He
the
talks
that's the
and,
biggest
like,
complaint.
His face doesn't move.
Yeah, there's a lot of makeup on that dude. Because if you see him in Stranger Things, he's got a dad bod. He does not have all those muscles.
And it looks like
So it's all prosthetic.
it looks like he's wearing like a plastic mask.
Yeah,
but
he's doing his best.
you know what? You're never gonna beat Ron Perlman.
That's the
End
thing.
of story.
no.
Like,
That's the thing.
He is Hellboy.
I was almost like, why didn't they just get Ron Perlman again?
And then you're like, oh,
'Cause he
Ron
was-
Perlman's fucking 80 or some shit.
Or he's
No,
also
he's not.
He's he's not 80, but I think he's like 70.
he's
Yo.
like, I can't do action scenes. And they were probably like, that's why you have stunt doubles, Ron. And he's like, nah, if you're not Guillermo del Toro, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
But it looks awesome. I laughed. I literally laughed in the trailer. I was watching it and I was like, ha ha, got him. And then,
It felt like
all like the deep cuts came out and I was like, ooh,
Yeah.
girl.
It felt like more akin to maybe more of the like comical side of Hellboy versus like I feel like the Guillermo del Toro one was like I don't know. I don't want to say dark, but like
It was a horror movie with a sassy Hellboy where this seems
Yeah.
more of like a fun adventure.
yeah, because the
Right.
music in the trailer is even like more like rock or like poppy.
Yeah,
it's
it's like
not
some
like
80s
orchestral.
song.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a little retro.
Yeah,
and-
for sure.
But then they drop like him in hell and getting King Arthur's sword and having the crown, like the halo of flames, and you're like, wait, what are they going for? And then he's like, I hate monsters. Ding! And I was like, me too.
Gotta hate them monsters.
Yeah. So I am very excited for it.
Yeah, I'll be there day one.
And
Otherwise, yeah, it's like, it's one of those, again, there's just nothing new coming out to talk about, nothing worth writing home about news-wise. So I
do you write home often, Kyle? 'Cause
I
that's a
mean-
weird expression that just...
I mean, a text is a write home, isn't it?
Nowadays.
If I like, text my mom,
Well,
ain't
home
I
is-
writing home?
Well, it'd be when you text Carrie, because home is where your heart is.
Well, my cat
You
doesn't
only
have
have
a phone.
Oh, got her. She's gonna be like, "Hey, I got these divorce papers for you." Cat thinks you're cool. You're like, oh no.
Cat gives me the paws up, and then he's like, "I'm going with her though."
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Um,
She just has it, and the cat had print his paw print on it too. And you're like, oh.
they ride off in a convertible.
Yeah. And, like the sun comes out, like the cartoon sun, and he shines extra bright. There's just a little storm cloud over you.
So yeah, no news other than the Hellboy trailer. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is like making tons of money. So is
haven't
Aquaman.
seen it. I need
It's
to go see
fucking
it.
awesome.
I'm a big Nick Cage fan, and I know he has a. I don't know. It's just a
He's
bit.
Spider-Man Noir.
Well, no,
Yeah.
he's a character. He's Spider-Man Noir.
I don't know
yeah.
how much he's in it, but
He's
you
in
know,
it a decent amount.
Okay.
Yeah.
I literally see. I've seen every movie up till. I'm missing a couple from this year.
So like Teen Titans Go.
I haven't seen that yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he has a voice in that. He's Superman.
Of like
in
the
that.
10 he does every year, the 10 movies.
Yeah,
he
I've
does
seen
every
about
year.
like 4 that he's done this year, so I'm like pretty.
What about the
close.
one where he gets the bees on his head? And
Oh, I've
it's like,
seen
"The
that.
bees."
Yeah, Wicker Man.
And you
Classic.
watched it?
I love that movie. He punches.
And he didn't walk
He
out.
punches a woman that's in a bear suit. Just decks her.
Yeah, I
Out
understand
cold.
that that's cool, but how about the other 100 and 80?
There's
or
more.
100?
minutes,
There's
yeah.
a lot of good stuff in that. I mean, the bees thing is so iconic for a reason. I know it's like, oh, that was
Because
terrible.
it's bad.
It was so bad, but it's not bad.
It's so bad it's bad. It's so bad it's extra bad.
It's good.
So bad it's good
Troy.
doesn't exist, because then that would just mean that it's good.
They did
So
this,
bad that it's bad.
They did this thing in Community where the one dude who loves movies went to a class, and the whole class was called Nick Cage, Good or Bad. And the whole class was about trying to answer the question,
Yeah.
and nobody could answer it. They were like, I don't know. I just don't know.
That's a fair answer.
Yeah.
That's accurate, and I love him for that. Did you see Mandy?
No.
Oh god, you gotta see Mandy. Go see the movie Mandy.
I mean, I like Nick Cage. I don't go
Like,
hard.
should I go
hard for
spend
Nick
like
Cage.
hard-earned cash?
yeah,
on
no,
Mandy?
yo, Mandy.
Like
was,
go down,
Mandy-
go lay down my $22 or
Mandy,
whatever.
like
hell
to
a
be
movie
fair, like I'm
is.
a big Nick Cage fan, but he's like 1 for 10 that are like legit. Like this movie's amazing.
Yeah, so he
Oh,
had
yeah,
like Con Air, and that's about
he lucks
it.
out.
So every
Movie every 10
Yo,
years.
no,
is what
every
about
like
Face
5
Off?
years. Face Off,
Dude,
classic.
Face Off
Classic.
rules.
Stop slamming on the table, Brian.
First timers, am I right?
Yeah, Face Off wasn't bad.
Go see Mandy. It's off the chain. It's really good.
Off the chain.
Off
Like
the chain
off
good.
Ghost Rider's
Yo.
chain.
Oh, like above Ghost Rider. Okay.
A movie I wish I walked out of.
All right. Yeah. Bad comparison. Anyway.
So yeah, Into the
Comic
Spider-Verse
books.
works. Aquaman, pretty okay.
I'm not committed to Aquaman. Somebody told me it was 2 hours and 25 minutes, and then they had 35 minutes of previews. So that's literally a 3-hour
That's crazy.
chunk out of my life that I'm like,
See,
I'm not committed to that.
I see one of
I'll
those,
go
I saw
for the
one of those
previews.
Amazon screeners and they had no previews, and I was like, oh, thank you,
Bad
Amazon.
rules.
Oh, I got that email, but I had to work that day. The like pre-screener
Sucks to
thing.
suck.
Yeah.
Oh, sucks.
I
to
would have
suck.
gone to see it for free, but
Sucks to be an adult.
I'm not gonna pay money to go see Aquaman. Sorry.
Really?
No, I'm not into the DC
Dude.
movies other than
No.
anything.
It was did you see
Batman
Wonder
related.
Woman?
Yeah,
I did see Wonder
is
Woman.
dope.
I did see Wonder
That's
Woman.
like it's not as good as Wonder Woman, but it's like right underneath of it. It's like
Fair.
it's way over.
Too
the rest of
long,
them.
though.
I'll watch it when it comes to Netflix.
Yeah. I mean, yeah,
exactly
I'll
what Warner
Redbox
Brothers
it.
wants to hear.
I'll
Nah,
Redbox
they made their
it.
money.
They when I heard Aquaman, I was like, movie's got to be 80 minutes long or I'm out. 90 at the most.
He's an
you
80-minute
know?
movie guy.
Like 80 to 90 minutes at the most, or I'm not.
Does this character
No.
have
Yo.
enough content for
Yo.
a 2-hour movie?
But he like surfs on a seahorse underwater. That like
Is it
80
like a
minutes of that
giant
would have been.
seahorse?
Yo, yeah.
But
yeah.
that's lame because seahorses are tiny.
The one thing
But it
Aquaman,
rules.
when you think about Planet Earth, you're like, it's like 75% water, and you're like, he's got the lion's share of the planet that he's covering when you really
Yeah,
think about
What's
it.
up with that? Why are you mad all the time? Wait, no, that's Namor. Never mind.
Yeah.
Aquaman's a pussy. Moving on.
All right, comics. So we've got 5 books to talk about today, and they are going to be the 5 best books to hear about this week. First one we're going to do is Marvel Action Avengers. It's one of the Marvel IDW books. They're doing a bunch of kids' books with IDW. They did a Spider-Man book. I think it was last month.
They already do Star Wars Adventures, which is up to issue
16.
16. Yeah.
Yep.
So
They're doing a Black Panther book in January. So this is their Avengers book. It's a kid-friendly book.
all ages.
All ages.
Kid-friendly sounds a little.
Well, most Marvel books you can't like hand to a 5-year-old.
Yeah, they're like T plus.
Right.
You know.
Not even just for the violence, but like they won't know what's going on. This is like a very simple story, very easy to understand.
No, is that why
Is
they
it, though?
handed? Is that why they handed it to IDW? They're like, well, this is like more kids oriented.
I think it was part of that, and they probably were like, Marvel's like, we just don't want to handle this. Like, you know,
Yeah, give it to one of your
Yeah,
writers. We'll lease it out to you. We'll
Yeah,
take half the
okay.
money.
we'll take some of the money. Like, you get to get a cut of Marvel
Okay.
money.
Okay.
Yeah, like this
Like
being
these-
an IDW book will probably be their best-selling book of this month.
Yeah, easily.
Because it's just has the Avengers on it.
Fair enough.
We sold a good amount, and so it's.
Yeah.
All right, run us down.
All right, so effectively, it's the Avengers are. This isn't a number one like how the Avengers get together. This is under the assumption that any kid has seen the Avengers movies and knows that they're together. AIM was able to, I guess, indoctrinate Tony Stark as Iron Man. And the Avengers are assembled because Pepper Potts saw this go down. They tried to intervene, get Tony Stark back.
Tony Stark is mind wiped at this time. He doesn't know who.
That's true. Yeah. He's indoctrinated, and he doesn't know who he is. He's getting flashes of the last thing he was doing before he was indoctrinated. And we get a little snapshots of what some of the other Avengers are up to at the moment. See them working in action. We get to essentially get an idea of who this team is that we're seeing. It's all the fan favorites from the movies. You got Black Panther, you got Captain America, Thor, Captain Marvel. Because
Doing
people are
Captain
excited
Marvel
that.
for good measure.
Yeah, because this time next year she'll be like the new favorite, I guess.
They're warming her up.
Yeah, they're getting kids ready, and they've got a bunch of like
Yeah, and then
very
they
lame
have
villains
these
that
very
no one's
iconic
heard.
characters, and then they drop in like the 5. Well, Madam Mask is pretty.
But for,
then
like,
the
kids.
the 4 most fucking obscure characters ever.
that I've never heard of.
Are they made up for this book?
I have no idea. They don't make it seem that way. What are they called? The
seem legit.
UFOs.
That sounds familiar to me.
Yeah, like they have. So each character they give a blurb for the kids to let them know like these are their powers. This is like a very short description of their attitude. And they're for the UFOs. They're like, if radiation hit a less than Fantastic Four.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
And I would look it up, but I don't have my. Obviously, we're recording on my phone, so I can't.
Right.
I
But,
can do that in the background.
Yeah, they make it seem like they're characters that have been around before. I've never heard of them.
And if they're not, if they were made up for this book, they're still fun. Like they explain the characters, and I'm like, that's fun.
Sure.
They feel they have that vibe of like, oh, these were like throwback characters.
Yeah, they feel
Yeah.
very organic to
They
the
feel
story.
like Marvel's version of the Royal Flush Gang. They're just like, this is the group of villains we can throw like real quick to get them into like an adventure before their big adventure.
I can agree with that.
A lot of DC books, that's the trope they always like. They throw the Royal Flush Gang at somebody to intro their story. But Batman's fighting the Royal Flush Gang.
I guess the spoiler is at the end that it is Iron Man, because the whole time he's like, "Who am I in this iron suit? I don't even know."
Yeah.
I was a bit confused throughout the comic.
Yeah,
I was
me
like,
too.
I don't know if it was just the pacing or like how the panels worked out, but I was like, wait, did someone jack his suit or is that him?
Well, they put a thing on the back
went,
of his neck.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
went back and looked at it. It's because I was also confused, but the thing goes in his neck, not
Right,
into
not
the
on
suit.
the suit.
Now, does the waiter do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
waiter looks so unsuspecting though. He's like, oh my
Well,
god.
he's like from like the first page. They show this dude is like, they're like, "Are you ready for your
And he's
mission?"
ready, and he's like, "I can do it.
Oh, that is
Don't
him.
fuck this up."
Oh,
Begin
okay. There's like a fog
countdown."
over him.
And it's funny because
his
just
color.
because of like the style of it, and because I've read an Avengers book before, I was like, "Oh, Steve Rogers is like masquerading as a waiter," and it wasn't him at all. They just made a
Right.
character
Oh,
that looked
yeah.
a lot like a Steve
Interesting.
Rogers.
Gotcha.
It's a very good. The Iron Man monologue on the first page.
Yeah,
I
it's
thought
a
was really
good
good.
quippy little.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
That's
that.
yeah, it's like that's Tony Stark.
Yeah, I was like, I can see Robert Downey Jr. saying this and it being like fun.
Yeah, everyone would be like, ha ha ha, classic
He's so
Tony.
handsome.
He loves being famous.
So are the UFOs real?
Oh yeah, they have a Wikipedia page. Members: Ironclad, Vapor, Vector, X-ray.
When did they come out?
First appearance: Incredible Hulk, 1980, 254.
Oh,
So
all right. So
this
there you
dude-
go.
This dude, the writer Matthew K. Manning, probably read that when he was a kid, and he was like, "Why doesn't anybody use the UFOs?"
My favorite villain team is the UFOs.
I should have mentioned it is written by Matthew K. Manning, art by John Samariva.
All right.
So
So what do you think, Brian?
So I like the Avengers as going into this, like, I like the movies a lot, but like I never really read Avengers books, like the standalone stuff. If they're part of a bigger story, I do. Coming into this, I was a bit confused just because of the layout or something, or the pacing. And it felt kind of short. I guess because maybe it is geared towards kids or an all ages kind of thing.
Yeah, it probably
IDW
reads
usually
quick.
runs a lot of ads too, because like the last
especially in the very back,
know,
there's like 6 pages
three.
of ads.
But I
Four
appreciate the
pages of
ads aren't
ads.
like up in the
Yeah,
front.
no,
Because kids aren't gonna, because kids might confuse an ad with actual story, and they'd be like,
Fair.
"What the fuck? What's
Yeah.
Spider-Man doing here?
Why does he have this watch?
What are the turtles doing here?"
Yeah, overall it just felt light in that sense to me, and it felt like kind of almost too standard of like, oh, reveal it is Tony Stark and go read the next book when it comes out. You know,
Sure.
like, I think that was maybe the only thing I was kind of like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And this art style isn't like my overall favorite to like look at.
They try to make it look like a cartoon,
Yeah.
and it failed.
Yeah, it's like some animated series that doesn't exist.
Because for the way it's drawn, it should be more kinetic, but everything feels very stale.
But it totally does feel like an IDW
Yeah.
book
Oh, yeah.
in that sense.
Right. So Brian, usually we give a book a grade
Oh, okay.
after each one. So for example, for me, being that I know right off the bat, like just from the cover alone, I'm like, oh, this is a kid's book. Like this isn't for me.
Right.
Like this is very
Right.
tame by my standard.
Right.
I'll say for a kid's book, this is a solid B+. Like I can give this to my nephew in a couple years. Be like, I love the Avengers. This is a great Avengers story.
Fair.
He'll be
Yeah,
5 in
yeah.
a couple years. So like for someone like that, perfect. For me, I'd be like, well, this is a D. Like I don't. You know,
See, for me, it was like a breath of fresh air with all the Avengers stuff that's going, and how fucking political, and how Jason Aaron's trying to talk down to you in Avengers. Or it's just like, dude, just shut up. Have them punch somebody.
I
and
want
then
to see
some-
Tony Stark not be a good guy for a second.
Like something goes wrong, and they're like, "How do we do it? Oh, we can fix it. We're the Avengers." And it's like, and then the cover's very misleading too, because like Hulk is
Hulk's
big
not
as
even in
fuck
it.
in it. Hawkeye's
Oh,
on there,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, "Yo, my boys." And then I read it, and I was like,
I guess I didn't even face. That's just
Like,
such
wait,
a common
Black
misleading
Panther
thing,
and Captain
though.
Marvel are here.
and then if you notice on next month's,
Not even on
they're
the cover.
not on the cover.
But Fing Fang Boom is.
But it's already
it's-
Iron Man fighting a different bad guy, and I'm like, but that's.
But he's the bad guy.
Yeah, I'm like that.
But maybe the next one takes place in the past.
Or maybe
Okay.
they make the covers before they figure out what to do in the book.
well, it is IDW, so
Believable.
I'm sure. I mean, this one had 7 covers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
saw
I'm sure.
that. It was a lot.
For me personally, I actually liked it a lot. I would go regular B+, not kids book B+.
Oh,
Tell us how you feel.
I'll be my normal Bryan self, and I'll just give it a D.
Well then.
D for Brian.
There is no children's grade. There is just the Bryan grade for this one.
All right.
And that
next,
is fuck yourself.
next up, Fantastic Four number 5,
Or
the $7.99 book.
Yeah, dude, I saw that on the back. I was
well,
like, wait, what?
the wedding issue between Ben
True.
Grimm and Alicia. Her last name's Masters, right? Masters.
Masters and
It's the
Fantastic Four
650th
number
issue.
5, but really 650. So it's the wedding issue.
So that's why it's so much.
Starts off with the feel good story. Oh, Reed Richards a prick. Oh, I'm the Invisible Woman. I'll help you, Ben.
I'll help you
Find
learn
out
how to dance.
Ben's the super, super good guy. Yeah, you know how to dance. Let me lead. Ends up, Ben was right.
And art by Mike Allred. So good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And retelling like the origin of the Fantastic Four and
it doesn't feel stale.
No.
Was awesome. Laura Allred doing the inks, really good too. Sue being happy for Ben, whatever. Next story is
The Bachelor Party.
Adam Hughes does the art, and it is so 50-50.
Yeah.
Like this panel, amazing. This panel,
With Peter Quill sticking his
fucking
tongue
garbage.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Oh, see, I didn't even
But I
put
feel
it
like-
together. I thought that was some dude yelling out of a
No, it's
window
Peter
with
Quill.
a doll.
I saw Rocket first,
Yeah,
and I'm
sorry.
like,
Bang on the
is that
table.
just a raccoon on that trashy
Yeah,
bus?
see, I thought the dude was like, oh, it's the fucking Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
out.
Well, they have to say it so you know. It's like, oh, these are who these people are.
Yeah, but then this panel, awesome. This panel, awesome. Garbage, garbage, garbage.
Yeah, but I feel like that's like Adam Hughes.
70s guy going on. Yeah.
That's Adam Hughes' interiors to a T. Is like some panels are like cover quality, and some are like.
I feel that he gets like bored. And then like so somebody will just like not have a face. And you're like, okay, I guess that's a thing. The Bachelor
It's like
Party.
when people don't draw the webs on Spider-Man's costume. It's like
Yeah,
it would
it's like,
take
come
me
on,
2
dude.
minutes.
So the second part, the Bachelor Party, is funny. It has a lot of funny parts. The Spider-Man parts are funny.
Yeah.
I really.
Speaking, I'm not drawing the lines on Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I love that they're so self-referential, and we'll get to this later in the book too, that to a T they know what's gonna happen. They're like, oh, you got these big cakes. There's villains in there. Like I told you, no costumes or villains are gonna show up.
Man.
That's what always happens.
I laughed when she was like, it's going clockwise, and
And
now it's going counterclockwise. And I was just like,
Yeah, it took me a
And
minute.
she-
Like,
about a
why
dick.
are they
Yeah.
explaining?
And She-Hulk is like,
right,
"Woo!"
yeah,
she's
she's
blind.
like, fucking do it. It was funny when Thundra won all the poker,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and then she was like, hate us, not the player. Thought
Yeah.
that was funny.
that was good.
That panel's really awesome too. The old timey like Popeye.
That was kind of
Yeah.
cool.
Balloon with the
I
hands
did
coming
not
out was
expect
funny.
that. Yeah.
Then we go back to the main part. Another feel good story.
And all the while, like all these stories have had one recurring thing, which is that Reed Richards is not living up to his being the best man.
Mm-hmm.
Like Ben asked him to help him learn how to dance, and Reed was like, "I can't be bothered. I'm busy."
And
then the
then-
bachelor party, he didn't set up the bachelor party because he was like, "I'm too busy. Why
Well,
don't
he
you
was
let
like,
Johnny do it?"
It's not a high priority.
Then at the
Right.
end, you figure out he was making their ultimate wedding present because he knew something bad was gonna happen.
Right, and he says
And
too,
Reed
he's
Richards
even
is
like, he's like,
the ultimate good guy.
yeah, and that's what I mean was like, I love how they 650 issues in, like fucking was it 60 years of Marvel, like the characters figured out like, hey, there's always like a pattern to this shit where like in a couple minutes into the ceremony something crazy is gonna happen. I don't know what. Somebody's gonna show up. There's gonna be something in the sky. Galactus is gonna show up, and we're not gonna get to the wedding. So I spent like all week making this 4 minutes of frozen time for you, so that when the thing that always happens, we're gonna finish this wedding, and you will get married before we go
Which-
off and save the day.
Was really good because it was another wedding issue, and then Doctor Doom showed up and he's like, and I was like, if this is fucking Batman 50 again, I'm gonna be so
Or
pissed
X-Men.
off.
There's been 3 comic book
Yeah.
weddings this year. No, well, kind of 4, and only half of them ended up with people getting married because the X-Men one was like a bait and switch. So so Colossus and Kitty Pryde were supposed to be getting married, and then they like don't, like one of them doesn't show up to the altar. Or no, they show up to the altar, and Kitty Pryde like doesn't put the ring on his finger and like runs away.
She warps through the floor.
So instead, Rogue and Gambit get married.
It was really good.
Sure. This issue, yeah, this was awesome. This was like one of the best books of the week, and a week of 5 books.
Yeah.
But,
All of it was good. I didn't not like any part about it.
and talking about
And
the
it-
$7.99 price tag, it was a hefty read.
It
Like,
took me.
Yeah.
It took me like a half
It
an
was-
hour to
it
go
was-
through it.
I felt like it was my money's worth. Like for $8 for the cost of 2 comics.
I'm like, this is
it was like a
half of a trade almost.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a lot of ads, which I thought was nice. If my
If
biggest
any.
complaint,
I don't think there were like really
There's,
any
like,
until towards the end.
2,
Is that
3, 4. Yeah.
the
not many.
Adam Hughes art doesn't live up to Adam Hughes. That's like
Some
my
of the
big
time,
complaint.
Yeah.
Yeah, only
It's
some
real-
of the time too. It's like, then
That's
that was a
nothing.
pretty good book.
Because even his worst panels are still better than like garbage like real garbage panels, and we'll get to that soon. In another book from
Oh.
Marvel.
Oh, Kyle. Oh, you.
You scamp.
I've been reading Fantastic Four, so
So I'm the opposite of that.
right.
So I actually am not a Fantastic Four fan, but I have to say I really like this book a lot.
There
It's
you go.
enjoyable, Yeah.
Um,
And they tell you the story like right on Front Street. They're just like, after years of being a couple, they got engaged, and they're half of them are back from the dead or supposed dead. So
Yeah, like
How hard was it too when Doctor Doom was like, "Yo, Galactus came, but don't worry about it.
But
I
I'll
got
save
it."
you,
And I was
world.
like, "Whoa."
he's like nobody even fly over here. I'll
he's here
shoot
in
you down."
Latveria. I'll save the world
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, and then the Fantastic Four are like, "Nah." It's like, yo, give my man a chance.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you weren't here. Doom was.
yeah.
Doom was a good guy. If you have forgotten.
Like you guys.
And, you shouldn't forget because you made him a good guy, Reed Richards.
You just got back like a week ago. Take a break.
I liked that their new headquarters is the TARDIS.
Is the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's Dan Slott and he loves Doctor Who a shitload. So I was like, that's fine. That makes sense.
And the whole Spider-Man doing the
toast.
toast,
Oh,
and then he's
'cause
just
he
like,
can't go to
nope.
the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Yeah,
So good.
I think overall, just as someone who doesn't read Fantastic Four that much, and like I'm not a big fan of them as a group, it was tolerable. One, because I think the Thing's my favorite character of the group, and two, I'm a big fan of like slice of life kind of stuff when it's done well, and this was just mostly that, where it was like, this isn't a straight up like standard action fighter beat 'em up kind of thing.
Yeah, he's like a big orange guy, but he's going on his bachelor party. And
Yeah.
it's like relatively tame.
Yeah, except he fights
There's, like,
3 times.
There's
but-
one. Yeah, there's only one real fight that isn't like a flashback, and it's just the one at the bachelor party. Oh, well, I guess
He goes
there's
to the
wrestling match.
Yeah, the wrestling match.
But that
that's-
was
that's
funny.
not re-
Yeah,
that was
that-
awesome.
that was
because he's
cool.
like, oh my back.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, like, and as they, like you guys said, it wasn't stale how they revisited like the origin, and it was kind of like new, a little bit of a new spin on some of that stuff.
And
Yeah,
where
it
they
was
drop
very
in
focused.
Galactus is coming with the old guy,
Yeah.
D-Man, and all those other dudes.
And they're
it's-
like, you haven't aged, and they look exactly like they're like super like 70s out or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
but-
And it was funny how Thundra was like, I ain't going to that shit. I'm going with the dude.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's like, what are you doing at the bachelorette party? And she was like, I'll have
wrong.
what the men are having. Yeah.
But yeah, it was a lot of cool like cameos of other people in there, like Thor carrying like a giant barrel of beer. That was
Yeah, and he's like, this is from Asgard.
He's like,
Yeah.
that's what I
All
call
right.
an import or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very. He was very Ben Grimm on it, which was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was just I was pleased with the overall like pacing and like kind of outside of the box story. I mean, not totally outside of the normal realm, but like it was like a special issue and it was longer so they could fit more.
it was like a 0.5 to like a really good thing. So then you have the 0.5s every once in a while, and it makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. Little
Right?
Susan.
little something.
Please listen to the 0.5s. They're important.
I'm gonna give it probably an A.
I'm getting
actually.
an A. Easily.
Yeah.
I'll do A minus.
I'll give it A for
Oh.
fantastic.
Contradictory.
All right, moving on. The next book we've got is a little spider flavor. It's Superior Spider-Man #1.
Spider
a little
flavor.
spider flavor. I'm leaving. I'm gonna get this glass.
All right, welcome to the Comic Mass Variety Hour with Bryan and Kyle. Superior Spider-Man #1 coming out of the Spider-Verse, which ended last week, or Spider-Geddon.
Thank God it ended.
Spider-Geddon.
Because it was wretched.
The ending.
It ended
The
terrible.
ending was wretched. The rest
And
of
it
the book,
makes the whole
fucking
story.
ruled.
It makes the whole story worse. You can't me. That's a fact.
We already reviewed this book, so we're moving on. Superior Spider-Man #1. This is a fan favorite iteration of the character, or at least because it's an iteration of Doc Ock more than Peter
I didn't
Parker.
read Superior Spider-Man.
Well,
Me either.
Frank.
So it's Kyle's.
Well,
favorite.
no.
I read this one.
I know from for a fact that Frank does not like Spider-Man except for Superior Spider-Man.
Really?
He hates Spider-Man, but
Really?
he
Wow.
loved Superior Spider-Man.
Hmm.
So for
I
those
can
of
see
you
him liking
who
this.
weren't around for Superior Spider-Man at one time, Doc Ock traded minds with Peter Parker. He put his mind into Peter Parker's body, put Peter Parker's mind into his failing body that was about to die, and it did die. His Doc Ock body died, and he stayed as Spider-Man and decided to do his version of it, his version of being a good guy. He was so convinced that his way and his advances on the idea were going to like revolutionize crime fighting, and he was going to exceed Peter Parker's reputation. And part of the fun of that was seeing his like ideas. Like he would hire henchmen, but good guy henchmen. He like put spider bots all over the city to be his eyes and ears all the time, and they would all fail in some way because they were like very selfishly designed.
Right.
And they didn't actually add any good to the community. So that was always like fun about that character, was he was always so convinced in what was right about his ways. And now they brought him back. Now he's not in Peter Parker's body, he's in a cloned body that's like half him, half Peter Parker. All the Peter Parker Spider-Man stuff and all the Otto Octavius stuff if he were like good looking and muscular.
So kind of like if Kyle took over my body, it would be a little bit like this.
So, yeah, he's based in San Francisco now, and he's up to his ways of being like, I'm going to be a better Spider-Man than Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
All you gotta know is the die is cast.
Yeah. That's pretty. Yeah.
And there's characters from that old version of the Superior Spider-Man stuff. Like Anna Marconi is from that, the woman who like he was in love with, and she knows the secret that he wasn't Peter Parker the whole time. She was in love with him thinking he was Peter Parker.
Sorry, how old was the previous Superior Spider-Man?
Couple years.
A couple years ago.
Yeah, it took over for Amazing Spider-Man. It's considered Amazing Spider-Man issues.
See,
They just changed the name.
I'm gonna take over for Kyle for a minute because the thing that this book did, which I thought was really smart, is that I had never read Superior like Kyle had. So the way they told their story was really smart in that I got it all to where people that have read it wouldn't think it was boring.
Yeah,
Like
you're
they
right.
introduced, like I have no idea who that
lady.
Anna.
I was
And she was like, "Oh, I know you're Superior Spider-Man, blah blah blah, and we have this weird history and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Whoa!" And then, but the way they did it was so smart to where like you weren't bored at all when
No.
you read it, right?
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
So then she was like, "I fucking know you're him," and I was like, "Oh damn!" And then
He's so fun.
yeah, and then she was
First
like,
issue and he's fun.
yeah, and then when he's fighting Stiltman, and he's like, "Oh, what if you messed up and I died?" And he's like, "I don't mess up, but if I did."
Yeah.
So it gives you like his,
He's more edgy.
his edge exactly.
Yeah.
So it felt, I guess, for somebody that's been reading it, kind of familiar but not stale.
Right. Yeah. Because it was such it's such a different spin on Spider-Man, but still Spider-Man. I mean, that's the whole thing. But I had a hard time at first. I was like, I'm still getting used to this Doc Ock being Spider-Man thing. I'm like, it's just so bizarre to me at first. But then by the end of the book, I'm like, okay. And I think the very last kind of moment where she's like, you're just a bad guy. Like, there's no way you're just so selfish, you're self-centered, you're like an egomaniac or whatever. And he's like, yeah, but I'm trying, basically.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and she
he's
was
like,
like, "I
"Don't
can't
I-
hate you."
Yeah. It's like,
I can't quit
don't
you.
bad people get a chance to try and be good? Isn't that like what we want from them?
Yeah,
It's like, come to our
that's,
side.
That's the point of.
Right.
Reformation, yeah.
So I was into that. But I could get her angle of like,
Yeah, but you
followed
screwed
me
over,
here, And
Yeah.
like, all the places you could have gone, you came here.
And then he was like, but I didn't know. And she's like, the fuck you didn't. I was
Yeah,
like, get him, girl.
yeah.
Go on.
And then she brought out the robot.
What is that robot?
Oh, he's from like the first 12 issues of Spider-Man.
Oh,
Like, it's
okay.
just like a very classic.
He looked
The
classic.
living brain.
Yeah, and then it
Yeah.
was funny how she's like, yeah, it's all automated. Even like the clicks and whistles are just there for funsies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's all digital.
It was fun. And then it was smart introducing, well, not introducing, but putting like Terax in it. Because you're trying to introduce a newish character. So you put in the villain who's known but
a
not
little obscure.
common.
Yeah.
So then you're like, oh, all right, Terax, I can get into that.
Not that like
And
they
then-
dropped in the Vulture. Like
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, come on. Or they're like, the new one, the Obsidian Goblin, and you're like, cool. Like, let's not do that.
Right.
So it was good. And another good part about this book is I'm more interested in the other characters than necessarily the Superior Spider-Man. Like, I'm more interested in the supporting cast. It's like it's like what Bendis tries to do and fails in Superman.
Disagree. But we're not talking about that. One thing that's like they do right off the bat that I was very happy about, especially for like new readers, is they show you right away how he's such a parallel to Peter Parker. Like they put him in a Peter Parker situation where he's like, I'm fighting this villain, but I gotta be at my lecture in like 10 minutes. And of course the trope is like, well, Peter Parker's always gonna choose like, fighting the villain. And he's like, in this issue right off the back, he's like, why would like an idiot like Peter Parker like ruin his personal life like to help his superhero life?
Right.
Like how would he put like that
I was
first?
like, let me finish this real quick.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
like, let me do this smarter, not like, I don't know, more superhero-y.
Yeah, and he's like, and you can see like the cracks in like the superiority of this Spider-Man, where he's like, if you had miscalculated, like I would have died. Like Peter Parker never would have taken that kind of risk. And he's like, no, I'm the best. Like it was never gonna fail. And already you're just like in 20 issues, it's like he's gonna fail.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna miscalculate.
Well, he
someone's
already
gonna
failed
die.
in this issue with the lady.
Yeah.
Ooh. Maybe he should have fought villains instead of trying to social call.
Yeah, it's really weird. It's weird.
So he's hiring other super villains.
Yep.
He's paying them to be good guys.
Yeah,
Right.
that was they did a prelude to Spider-Geddon that was pretty much just like an issue 0 of the series.
Oh, okay.
It was called The Superior Octopus.
Oh, cool.
Because he was like trying to do this but as Doc Ock, and he was like, you know what, this isn't working, like
And
I'll be Superior
Basically,
Spider-Man.
that issue was like, he's in San Francisco. He hired these two guys to work with him.
Oh, okay, so that's
and that's like
set
all
up.
you got out of that issue.
Right.
Okay.
So he's paying supervillains to not be supervillains. He was
Right.
like, you could rob this bank and make this much money, or I'll give you double that to
pay you.
not be bad guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm gonna go B+.
It's high for Troy.
I'm agreeing with it. I was thinking B+ as well.
I'm a big Spider fan, so A. It's always gonna be an A for me. Well, unless it's bad, but this was really good.
It was good.
So A. Moving on.
All right, we got X-Force.
Number 1, right out of another little character event, Extermination.
I haven't read that.
So basically, it's the old
Oh, yeah,
kind of
do you-
old school, kind of new school X-Force, Shatterstar, Cable, Deathlock,
Ooh,
Domino, Boom Boom,
but not Cable.
Well,
Kid Cable, Warpath, and Cannonball.
a lot.
There's
Of,
not really.
a lot of returners.
Yeah,
all
they're
returning.
it's basically
There's no like crazy new X-Force
there's
members.
evil people
Oh, maybe Cannonball. Cannonball was never on X-Force, right?
killing mutants. I think he was in the.
I think he was. Maybe
in like the
Two
couple years ago.
Because he
generations
says something like,
ago.
"We're not killing, right?" And I was like, "You weren't on X-Force. That's what they do."
And so there's people killing mutants, and then Kid Cable's working with them, and they find out that Kid Cable wasn't actually working with them. He's just trying to steal their technology because they have technology from the future.
it's pretty.
And then that's about it.
It's pretty typical like X-Force.
But here's where the disagreeing comes in.
Okay.
I thought the art was fucking awesome.
And I thought it was wretched.
Like Kyle came in and told me that he read put it down after the first page, and I was like, well, we're reading for the podcast, so pick it back up.
I wasn't gonna read it for me personally, and
I agree with him. The first page, I was just like, oh, this isn't very good with this weird, and he's like, another dead mutant.
This Frank Castle with a buck tooth.
And then after that, I thought the art was just phenomenal.
It's got like some noir kind of elements. to
Yeah,
it.
it's very. If you like it, you're gonna love it, and if you don't like it, you're gonna hate it.
I love this.
There's like no in between.
This
really.
splash like this charge kind of thing going on in the middle of the book here.
Yeah.
That's like a nice
It's
little
awesome.
one. There's like a lot to look at. I could go either way on the art. I'm not like I'm not like, oh, I love this, but I'm not like, I didn't take note that I'm like trash. I wasn't like that. So
I thought it was crazy that the main art looked less good than the filler, like the backup art, for the story that like didn't matter
But I
at
think
all.
the back part is gonna be a part of the story.
Oh,
Because I
is it
think
gonna
it's
be, like,
gonna be in
recurring?
each of them.
the boom
and it's
boom
gonna,
part.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's gonna be how she keeps being late to everything.
Gotcha. They did
'Cause, like,
something with
that's funny.
Boom Boom will return.
I just thought they were like, oh, she'll show up in issue 2, and it's
Right.
like she finally made it.
a number of years ago they did something in, I forget which X-Men series, but it was with Beast, and he was off doing something else like side story that would eventually fold into the overall story,
Yeah.
and it was always like a little blip at the end of the book like that.
Yeah, and it makes sense too when they're like, because they, the X-Force let everybody go in the beginning, and then Boom Boom blew everybody up, and she was like,
She was
oh, I
trying
took
to
care
It's
of
your fault.
I took care of
Yeah.
this stuff, and then the guy's like, they killed everybody. So it's like, wait, but they didn't. And then you read the back matter, and you're like, oh, they totally did, because she blew them all up. So, yeah, I thought it was awesome.
What did
I
you
was
think
super
since
into
like
it.
you weren't introduced to Kid Cable before this? Were you
Right.
like really confused?
Not really, because I know Cable well enough. I've read not the super classic X-Force stuff, but kind of like most of it since maybe like 2006.
Like the Clayton Crane and
Like when like Messiah
Kyle
Complex.
Yost or whatever.
Yeah, Kyle
Sci
Yost.
Complex was cool.
Yeah.
Like that kind of era up till I might be like X-Force series behind on this. But yeah, I was just like, oh, it's just kind of what I missed in between. Cable's a kid now, time travel. It's a thing.
Yeah, that's the thing with X-Men. They're like, yeah, he's a kid now. I'm like, yeah,
like
X-Men time travel. That's
like
what they do.
out the gate, Cable's already a confusing character if
Right.
you don't know. It's like, oh, he's like Cyclops' son, but he's introduced as an old man from the future because they sent him into the future and he aged and he came back when he's an older guy.
And then he went
Right.
back to the future.
There's
and
so
then
many
he came
times-
back again.
yeah.
But this time he's younger, and you're like, what?
Which makes sense. I'm like, why
Kinda.
didn't he come back when he was younger? At some,
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, he's like the human, like Groundhog's Day. He's like, oh, fuck that up, time to go back.
Well,
Whoop,
now they
fuck
made
that
him
up, time
kind of
to go
like
back.
they pretty much made him Looper, because in Extermination, his younger self comes to this time to kill his older self,
right.
and he kills his older self, so he closes his own loop, which is kind of what happened in Looper. They
I
would
have no
send
idea what Looper is.
So in
It's a
Looper,
movie.
yeah, they
Okay.
would like
Movie. You kids in your movies.
these like mobs in the
Willis.
future would send people back in time to get like murked. And
Got
they'd have
Bruce Willis.
Yeah, and like your last person you would end up killing if you were one of those dudes in the past is your older self, and they would close your loop. So like you would
Sounds
know.
terrible.
Well, terrible if you were like the dude killing people and then you killed yourself.
Yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, so that's kind of like what they did here. Well, or at least they did in Extermination. So now, I
Yeah.
don't know. I guess
I mean,
they're saying like Kid Cable's future is open.
Yeah, I was a little bit like, I mean, I didn't know, I was like, oh, he's a kid now, but, I lost my train of thought because I'm looking at the pictures.
The pretty pictures.
The pretty pictures.
Deathlock was a cool addition.
I like Deathlock a lot in this because they gave him that moment of like, oh yeah, he's a psychotic, like, killer human, and he has, like, these parts that are keeping him functioning sane, but when he's not all put together, he's, like,
Yeah, he's still like,
crazy.
and he says some wild shit.
Yeah, I was into that, and he's like on Cable's back, and he's carrying him around.
Yeah, and he's like
shooting out the
dudes,
back
and I'm
of
like,
him. He's
this
like,
is
"Is that
awesome."
my gun that you have?" Like,
Yeah.
It's
so
like, yeah, it is. Relax.
yeah, but yeah, I guess yeah. Oh, I remember what I was gonna say. It's always the thing with Cable. It's always like, oh no, what's he doing? He's like a bad guy now. And it's just always a misunderstanding because he knows, like, oh, I have to do this to prevent this thing from happening. And I'm always kind of like, all right, someone like Domino, which she does kind of in the book, she's like, I know he's not actually doing this right now. But,
Right.
like, people that know him should just trust that, like, okay, this is crazy what you're doing right now. Like, just don't try to stop him.
Yeah, like in
Yeah.
Cable we trust kind of thing.
Yeah. Like, you just
That makes
gotta,
sense.
he's from the future.
Maybe he knows better than you.
Yeah. So,
Shatterstar.
yeah,
Yeah,
there-
Shatterstar.
there's just moments where I'm like, guys, come on. There should be like a disclaimer when you join X Force, like, just whatever Cable does, don't just whatever.
he's cool.
But yeah, and that was why I was saying it's just kind of a standard X Force thing happening, and I'm like, it's gonna progress, and oh, the whole world's against them because they think they killed the president of some
Someplace.
country
Yeah.
that has a crazy military.
Yeah, Tanzajapakistan. Or
Uh,
They're
Bla-
speaking
Bla-
Romanian.
Blagovargrad.
I give
Oh, wait,
it.
that's a real place.
Is it Bulgaria? Yeah.
No, but the other place I don't think is like real.
Right.
I'm gonna go again, probably B plus. I really liked it.
I'll give it like a B. I would like to keep reading it. I do read X Force, so I would continue to read this probably. Yeah.
I'll give it a solid D plus.
Oh!
Still harsh on the art.
Yeah.
Hate.
And like I like the story fine, but it just didn't do that much for me.
Fair enough.
I'm like, oh,
That's me with
a
the
guy
Avengers.
from the future is weapons dealing them. They're trying to set up, oh, maybe old Cable was dealing them weapons.
Right.
No, it's gonna be his like evil clone or whatever that dude's name was, Striker or Strife.
Strife,
It's gonna be Strife again.
Sick.
Who else is Cable gonna fight? Is Strife.
When was the last time you seen Strife though?
I don't know, and I didn't like it. So
Yo, what if it's Hope selling them weapons?
Oh, that would be
Yo, that would be
Some, like,
sick.
now, you know what though?
Future
That
Hope
just
or
makes me
something.
mad. 'Cause I like Hope.
I like
That'd be
Hope
like,
too.
Marvel,
Yeah,
you
but
crossed
what
this
if
line.
what if she went to the future and it was Hope selling them weapons and she was like, "Yo, they're right, mutants gotta go," and it was like some fucking
Now she's like the anti-messiah?
yeah. Then it was like what the hell was it? M Day or whatever,
Oh,
where
wait.
there are no more mutants.
Oh, yeah. Fuck. That Bendis story, right?
Why am I blanking on this?
I know. Alright.
On to the last book.
So the last book we were going to be
From-
talking about.
Podcast fan and discusser, Fred Schwartz.
Friend of the show. Fred
Friend of the
Schwartz.
show.
This is an indie book that Fred put out.
By him, well, obviously not by himself, but self-funded indie book, self-published indie book.
Yeah.
Self-funded and self-published.
The dude got a book made. By, just with
You
some
got a book made?
sweat and tears.
I ain't got a book made.
Nope.
I am thanked in this book though, just so you guys know.
Oh,
Just so you
yeah.
guys know.
Legit.
He and Frank are name dropped, and I'm like down off the page. Like,
Yeah, he
You were
put
in
you
the
in, but you got
margin.
clipped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Run off.
You can't, they got to storyboard the pages.
yeah,
so.
Wade's even thanked. He ain't even been on the show.
He ain't even had been on the show.
That's true. We gotta rectify that. Maybe.
I just met him yesterday, and I'm thanked in there, Kyle. What's even
Yeah,
going on?
he-
I'm just messing
Yeah,
with
Brian's on like page 3.
retroactively.
It's
put
like
in.
in silver Sharpie. It's like and Bryan font.
And Brian, the real MVP.
So, yeah, Fred put out this really cool book, and it's this horror Frankenstein.
He described it as Reanimator meets the Incredible Hulk, which I think
It's pretty apt.
Feels
Yeah.
fairly accurate.
Yeah.
The animator is a big part of that.
I hadn't talked to him much about this book at all before I read it, and yeah, the impression I got was this is like a very modern version of Frankenstein, in that Frankenstein was about creating life, and that this is about like creating a better material self in a very material age.
Damn, that's some deep thinking. But
Yeah.
I can't disagree with you.
So Troy, why don't you run down the story?
Basically, it's a scientist that's small and
mousy.
not attractive, and so he comes up with this terrible idea to build himself the ultimate body by killing bodybuilders and basically Frankensteining himself the ultimate body.
And taking their best parts.
And it's different in a good way.
Yeah, it's a cool, like, grotesque kind of horror book.
Yeah, it's like an 80s slashers movie
Yeah.
with modern day lessons.
Like, if you're a big fan of, like, Tromaville kind of stuff, like trauma
dude.
movies.
Just fucking forget about it. He should sell this to Troma now.
I know this is very up like the alley. If you're like a Toxic Avenger fan, I told him as soon as I opened the book, I was just like, this is just this. I'm like, this reminds me of the first Toxic Avenger. The movie starts out with this guy in a gym in the 80s, super 80s. Like everyone in the gym's got their headbands and they're like, you know, ladies got those stockings on. They're all like poofy,
Pumping their guns.
yeah, and they're all like
dripping.
sweating and smoothies everywhere. And this kid's like ugly, mopping the floor. In this comic, it's like similar. This guy's going to the gym. He's seeing all these like bodybuilders like pumping iron. And he's like, I want to be like that. And he's talking to them. And he's like, how do I be like you?
Yeah, and they're all like, I'll give you some training. And it's like, it's not going to work. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's just got fucked genetics.
And ultimately, he gets messed up on his own accord in this one and gets turned into a monster, which is, you know, the difference between like Toxic Avenger. It's like that was an
Right.
accident. This is like he's making the choice to do it.
Yeah.
And he's confused at the end of the book, like, why is everybody disgusted by my stitched together body?
Yeah, I'm just bleeding here.
Yeah.
I have to say, the art is like super detailed. I'm like really impressed with how much, like, there's a lot and how much detail there is for like, the amount of content drawing wise.
Yeah.
Yeah, he picked a really good artist for it because it fits. Obviously, the entire book is about the anatomy of a person, and whoever he picked drew the anatomy of a person, like the extreme anatomy of it, really well.
Yeah. I would even say that, like, they did a really great job of, like, making, like, some parts, like, anatomically accurate but grotesque in
Yeah.
nature. Like, a lot of, like, the shots were, like, you'd see, like, a woman and, like, her nipples are poking out and they're, like, all in, like, different directions
Yeah,
and shit. That's,
very like Sam Keith.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Like, the muscles are, like, very exaggerated but not, like, you know, not like the artist doesn't know what they're doing. Just, like, that's, like, the point of, like, the book. You know, everything's, like, very impossible to get. You know, like,
Yeah.
this guy's never going to get bodies like these. Most of us are never, ever supposed to get bodies like these. Like, we just don't have, you know, like, it's almost, you know, inhuman itself to be
Yeah.
able to, like, have that
Right.
kind of a body.
And there's
like, be
little
that
things
ripped.
he throws in there that are like, you'll see like supplement bottles that are like flying through the air and
Yeah.
stuff, and like just all the artifacts of like that whole world of kind of these guys are monsters. In the book, it's like people like to be described as monsters, and it's like marketed, you know, get a monster bod,
Yeah,
Right,
monster juice.
monster juice,
Pump.
jacked,
Yeah.
and it's all
Yeah.
really expensive.
But it's
Yeah, and they're like-
true is too that like
that's a real thing.
the people that are in like the bodybuilding competitive thing too is like their bodies are just fake.
Yeah.
They're just filled with fucking garbage.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, even, like, people who, like, do superhero movies, like, they can't look like that all the time.
No,
Like, they can't. Like,
but
it's just not fit. It's not possible. It's not
yeah.
economical. Like,
I mean, the thing even about that though is like in the movies, like, you know, say Captain America, like he's fucking ripped, but he's not like disgusting. He's just cut.
Yeah.
Where like you see these Mr. Universe guys with like their tiny little heads and these huge disgusting bodies.
Right.
yeah,
You're like, that's
not right.
something
Yeah.
is
doesn't
wrong
happen
there.
naturally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Like,
very
there's
much
a
what
balloon in
the
there.
art in this
Yeah.
book.
Yeah,
is
so it's like,
that.
yeah, what are you guys pumping into yourselves that's not getting detected currently?
Right.
Yeah.
And then once that comes up, you got to move on to the next thing. So I felt that his idea was it was a really smart idea.
Yeah.
And at the end, is it going to continue? Is he doing more issues of this?
Well,
He
so that's to be
has-
continued.
Oh, okay.
Fred told me he has 4 parts in the works, trying to see where it goes. And Fred, I will say, thanks for taking my editing advice on the cover. It looks much better.
I really like the logo on this.
Yeah, he had issue 1 over here covering up part of the logo in the arm.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, put it down a little bit and move it to the other side, and it looks
Yeah,
a
it
million
looks
times
really
better.
good.
It's a good. Yeah. Overall, can we rate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I would give it like a solid B plus. Like it's like a really good. Like I know it's their first issue, their first like full on comic book that both of these guys are releasing. Yeah, I was definitely impressed by the writing and by the art overall. Like,
I'm with you.
As like an indie book, it's super dope.
Especially self-published indie book,
yep.
like it's
Like-
insane. He did it, which
Yeah.
is also commendable.
Yeah,
He was like, you know what, I have this idea. I'm gonna find these people to help.
and it's not half-assed. Like it's
No, he didn't, like-
well done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he didn't go to like
There's
fucking
research in it. There's a
Staples
lot of
and
thought
like
in it.
print it off, fold it in half, and then staple it.
Yeah.
you
Right.
know.
And like I'm a big horror fan, so I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like this is like my kind of like I'm into like gore
Like
and
80s
Yeah.
chopper.
Yeah.
movies.
I know he wants to take this to some horror conventions. I mean, there's only
Oh, it would
100
sell.
copies right now, but I'm sure like he's gonna
He's
expand the
getting.
print run.
He had 100 initially. He's getting 400 more eventually. So
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll sell out.
Still
of
a
all of them.
limited run, yeah.
Yeah.
That would totally, yeah, for like horror people.
And especially for comic book spec people, like if this went anywhere and you had one of these,
Yeah.
forget
Done.
about it.
Yeah.
Just pick it up.
Yeah.
$4.
$4.
Yeah, help a local
That's
dude.
It's a cool like horror book.
Super nice guy. Too. I just met him yesterday. I was like kind of chilling with him for a while. Nicest guy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
have
I
to,
gave it B plus. B
Oh,
plus.
yeah, I think, yeah, what did I say? B plus?
Yeah, I'll
And
give
then
it a
what do you
B
got?
plus.
B plus.
B plus all around.
Yeah, I think it's a solid book, and I already know what the sequel should be. So Fred, drop a line.
Soft body.
No, no, I'm not gonna spoil it here.
Oh, dad bod.
Dad.
No.
Uh,
Oh, you want Fred to contact you, so you get a little taste.
no, I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you and not be off the page.
You just gotta, size it
Yeah.
out. It's all good. Any spec this week? No, not this week. This week.
No, there's nothing. There's not even any like variant covers. Not really. There's the FF covers, but
All right, dude. Check out next week when we're gonna review Conan, and
oh shoot!
so excited.
And we're gonna spend an hour on it.
One
not
hour.
not a whole hour, but maybe.
Maybe. It's gonna be awesome. All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.